You've been on the road all day. The horse beneath you is breathing hard, each exhale hanging in the cold air. The leather of your saddle creaks. Your thighs feel like they've turned into wood. The road is barely more than a track, two ruts worn by wagon wheels, mud frozen in ripples. On either side, dark trees, thick and silent. If anything happens out here, an accident, a robbery, no one's going to hear you scream. Travel in colonial America isn't a road trip adventure. It's a risk calculation. Every mile you push into the dark is a mile deeper into uncertainty. Brigands, drunk farmhands looking for trouble, wolves following at a distance, your horse misstepping on a route you didn't see. So when you spot that faint glow through the trees, you feel something that every traveler back then knew well, a mix of relief and doubt. Because lodging in this world doesn't mean safety. It just means you'll be uncomfortable indoors instead of out. As you ride closer, the shape comes into view. A low, two-story building, rough timber, sagging a little in the middle. Light leaks around the shutters and through gaps in the wood, like the whole place is barely holding the indoors in. A sign swings over the door, the paint mostly peeled, but you can still make out a tankard, or maybe a coach, or a crown. Most travelers can't read anyway. The picture is the message. We have ale, we have beds. Come in if you dare. You dismount, boots landing in soft mud. Your legs tingle with pins and needles. You tie your horse to the post, pat its neck, a silent promise that you'll both make it through the night. As you reach for the door latch, you can hear the sounds inside. The low roar of voices overlapping, a burst of laughter that sounds slightly too loud, like people who've had just enough to drink to forget their troubles, but not enough to forget their suspicions. You lift the latch, the door swings inward, and a wall of smells hits you first. You step into heat, smoke, and humanity. The air is thick with wood smoke from a fire that's been burning since dawn, grease from meat that's been boiled, fried, and refried, sweat soaked into wool coats that haven't been washed in weeks, the sharp tang of ale and rum, and underneath it all, a faint sourness, damp boots, wet dogs, and bodies that have known too many miles. Heads turn when you enter. Not everyone, but enough that you feel the prickle of being the new person in the room. In one corner, men in rough work clothes cluster around a table, hands cupped around pewter mugs. At another, a man in a better coat, maybe a lawyer, maybe a merchant, leans in close to a couple of farmers, explaining something with his hands, like he's selling them a dream or a disaster. By the fire, an older woman with a red, tired face is ladling something white and thick into bowls. It might be chowder, it might be something else. In this world, you don't ask too many questions about the menu. Behind the bar, or what passes for one, stands the innkeeper. You know him by the way he looks at you. He's seen thousands of people just as exhausted, just as desperate, shuffle through his door. He can probably guess how much you're carrying in your purse by the way you walk. He gives you a nod that means, you'll get what everyone gets. Don't expect more, don't demand less. You walk over, already rehearsing the two questions every traveler has to ask. Have you got food? Have you got a bed? The innkeeper doesn't bother with small talk. He jerks his thumb toward the long table in the center of the room. Supper's there. Eat while it's hot. Bed after. You slide into a bench. There's no menu, no waiter, no choice. Platters appear, carried by a girl whose apron once was white. Fried chicken, the skin more gray than golden. Slices of bacon curled at the edges. A pie that might be apple, might be something else entirely. Someone passes you a hunk of bread that's so dense it feels like a weapon. This is not a restaurant. It's a refueling station. You don't know anyone at the table, but you're instantly sharing salt, passing dishes, negotiating space for your elbows. Conversation swirls around you. News from Boston, Rumors of British taxes going up again. A neighbor who got sick and didn't get better. A story about a traveler who never made it past the next town. Every so often, someone glances your way. Where are you headed? Road's rough that way. You riding alone? They're not just being friendly. They're calculating you. Are you worth robbing? Are you worth trusting? Are you worth avoiding? You chew your meat, swallow your suspicion, and give short answers. You're here for calories and a place to lie down, nothing more. But that's not how inns work in this world. Here, everything is shared. The table, the air, the rumors, and later, the bed. When the bowls are scraped clean and the last pie crust has been divided and devoured, people start drifting upstairs or out the door. You wait until the crowd thins, then make your way back to the innkeeper. You slide a few coins onto the worn wood between you. Got a bed for the night, you ask? He eyes the coins, then eyes you. I got space, he says. You'll share? You wait for him to clarify. He doesn't. Because to him, nothing he just said is strange. In colonial America, having your own bed while traveling is a luxury almost no one expects. Beds are expensive. Mattresses, blankets, these are resources. So an inn takes what it has and squeezes every coin of value out of it. One mattress might see 2, 3, even 4 people a night, lying shoulder to shoulder, like strangers laid out in a drawer. You're about to become one of them. You push a little more money forward. How much for my own room, you ask? He snorts, actually amused. Not a question we answer here, he says. You'll get a place to lay your bones. Your own room? That's for the governor, not for you. He takes the coins, reaches under the counter, and pulls out a stub of cheap tallow candle. You'll want this, he says. Up the stairs, second door on the left. If they're already asleep, don't wake 'em. And keep your boots close. The way he says that last part makes you wonder why he's giving you the warning. And what happens to people who don't listen? The stairs groan under your weight as you climb to the second floor. The air changes. Downstairs was heat, food, noise. Up here it's cooler, but thicker, like breathing through used cloth. You find the second door on the left. The latch is just the hook and loop. You lift it, slowly. The door creaks anyway. Your candle throws a weak circle of light into the room. You see rough wooden walls, bare except for a peg with someone's coat hanging on it. A small window, closed tight, glass warped. 2 beds, rope frames sagging in the middle, straw-stuffed mattresses. And in one of those beds, 2 shapes. 2 men, already under the blanket, shoulders visible, eyes half open, watching you. No introduction. No, welcome, friend. Just the silent fact. This is your bed now, too. You close the door behind you. The latch drops with a soft clink that suddenly sounds way too final. There's nowhere else to go. You set your candle on a little 3-legged stool and start undressing like everyone does in a room full of strangers. As little as possible, as slowly as necessary. You keep your money pouch under your shirt. You keep your boots close, just like the innkeeper said. Because in a place like this, someone rifling through your things isn't just a rumor, it's a routine. One of the men in the bed grunts. Make room, he mutters, as if you're the one intruding on his private suite. You blow out the candle. The room dives into darkness. Now it's just the sound of breathing. 3 different rhythms, forced into the same narrow space. You lie down and feel the mattress shift under the combined weight of 3 adult bodies. And something else. Something small, moving in the straw beneath the sheet. Colonial beds are not clean. The sheets might get washed once in a while. The blankets, almost never. The mattress, never. You can feel it as soon as you settle in. The slight tickle on your wrists, your neck, your ankles. Lice, fleas, bedbugs. They don't care who you are, how important your papers are, how big your dreams are. To them, you're just fresh blood in a new, warm shape. One of your bedfellows shifts, and the blanket pulls tighter across your chest, pinning your arms for a second. You fight the urge to yank it back. There's an unspoken code here. Don't hog the blanket. Don't roll into someone. Don't snore louder than absolutely necessary. Don't talk unless you have to. You stare into the darkness. Someone coughs. Someone turns over, the rope bed groaning in protest. You hear a horse snort in the yard outside, hooves scraping. And then, beneath all of that, a softer sound. Feet padding along the hallway. Bare feet by the sound of it. They stop outside your door. The latch clinks gently, just enough to test if it's secure. You realize you didn't set the hook back into the loop when you came in. The door moves, just a whisper of motion, but enough for a cold draft to slide across your face. You don't move. You don't speak. On the bed beside you, one of the men shifts, but doesn't sit up. The visitor in the hallway doesn't say a word. This is the part no one writes in the history books. People in these inns might be drunk, they might be poor, they might be desperate. And desperate people do math in the dark. They think, is the man in this room carrying more money than me? If I take his boots, will he be too far away to come back for them? If I slip my hand under his mattress, what will I find? You hear the bare feet cross the floor, a soft scuff near where you left your boots. You still don't move. Your heart is pounding so hard, you're afraid the whole bed can feel it. The person bends down. There's a pause. Then, from the bed, in a low voice edged with steel, one of your bedmates says, "Them boots are mine." Silence. Then the intruder's voice, slurred slightly. "Didn't say they weren't." A beat passes. "Get out," the man in the bed says. "Next room still got theirs." There's a long moment where you can feel 3 different futures balancing in the air. The intruder grabs something and runs. A fight breaks out, in the dark, with 3 men half asleep. Or, the intruder decides tonight's not worth it. You hear the soft sound of boots being set back down, bare feet again, crossing the room. The door opens wider, then slowly closes. The latch doesn't catch all the way. It hangs, barely touching. You stay absolutely still. The man beside you sighs. "Told you to keep 'em close," he mutters, just loud enough for you to hear. "First time on the road, is it?" You don't answer. Because right now, you're not sure if you're supposed to be grateful or terrified that the only thing protecting you tonight is a complete stranger who happens to be just as dangerous as the man in the hallway. Sleep in a colonial inn is not a deep, luxurious thing. It comes in thin layers. You drift off for a few minutes at a time, then surface again when something breaks the surface. Someone stumbling in the hall, swearing softly when they hit the wall, a door slamming somewhere downstairs, the fire in the main room being banked for the night, a horse squealing in the yard. Every time you open your eyes, you have to remember where you are. Not home, not safe, just horizontal. At one point, the man to your left rolls over in his sleep, his arm dropping heavily across your chest. For a second, your brain panics. Then you remember, this is just the geometry of 3 men in one bed. You move his arm gently back like you would a child's. Another time, you wake to scratching. Not in the room, but in the wall. Rats. They live here too. They know the schedules. They know exactly when crumbs will fall, when candles will gutter, when the kitchen scraps are left unattended. You think about the food you ate downstairs. How many times that pot has been reused? How many rats have crossed that floor? You roll onto your side, face inches from the wall, and stare at the rough wood glowing dimly with the faintest hint of moonlight. You came here to rest, but the longer you lie awake, the more you realize something. This place is alive, not in a magical way, in a biological way. Everything in here breathes, eats, shifts, calculates, including you. At some point, the darkness thins. The room turns from black to navy to a cold gray. Your body aches in new places. Your neck is stiff. Your lower back feels like one uninterrupted knot. The two men beside you start coming back to life too. A stretch here, a groan there, a muttered curse at the morning. No one says good morning. That kind of politeness belongs to people who aren't sharing a bed with strangers. You swing your legs over the side, reach for your boots. You check your money pouch. It's still there. In a place like this, that's not something you take for granted. In the yard, the air is sharp and wet. The ground is churned mud, frozen on top, soft underneath. Travelers move around quietly, checking saddles, rubbing down horses, arguing softly about routes and weather and rumors of trouble ahead. Smoke curls from the chimneys. Somewhere inside, breakfast is being prepared. Some combination of yesterday's leftovers, oatmeal boiled until it stops fighting, maybe coffee if you're lucky and this inn is close enough to a port. You catch your reflection in a small puddle. You look older than you did yesterday. Not because of the miles, because of the night. There's a reason people remember these inns not as cozy refuges, but as a necessary discomfort, a tax on movement. You went in expecting a bed. You got a lesson. Before you leave, you go back to the innkeeper to settle up. He's already awake, eyes less tired than you'd expect for someone who probably sleeps less than anyone in the building. On the counter in front of him is a large, leather-bound book, his ledger. Names, or sometimes just descriptions. Man from Boston, poor horse. 2 brothers heading north. Widow with child, no money, paid in cloth. Amounts owed, amounts paid, sometimes amounts forgiven. An inn like this isn't just a business, it's a nexus. News flows through here, so do secrets. The innkeeper knows who's traveling alone with too much luggage, which merchants always pay in full, which farmers drink more than they can afford, which local men disappear into which rooms when their wives think they're elsewhere. You hand him your coins. He marks something in the book. You realize that for one brief night, your existence has been reduced to a single line of ink on a rough page. You won't remember the inn's name in 20 years, but this ledger might outlive both of you. And if someone, decades from now, ever opens it and reads that line, it'll be the only official record that on this particular night, you shared a bed with 2 strangers in a building barely holding itself together. Before you go, you end up lingering a moment too long by the fireplace. The embers are bright, throwing out enough heat to make you forget how cold the yard is going to feel. A couple of travelers are still there. They look like they've been up all night, or like they never really sleep deeply either. One of them, an older man with a beard gone mostly white, is talking, and everyone else is listening. You catch the middle of his story. And when I woke up, he's saying, the man I'd been sharing the bed with was gone, but his smell was still there, and so was the dent in the mattress. Only thing missing was my purse. A few men chuckle, not because it's funny, but because the alternative is getting angry about it again. Another man chimes in. You're lucky, he says. At least you woke up. Heard about a place down the road. They say a fellow went to sleep in the straw and never woke. Took sick from something in the blankets. Bugs or a fever or the devil. Doesn't much matter which, does it? The old man shrugs. A bed's a bed, he says. You want better? Stay home. You want to move? You pay the price. They all nod. It's not said with bitterness. It's just the way the world works to them. You realize something then. For these men, the creepy parts of inn life aren't exceptions. They're features. You share a bed with strangers. You eat food that might have seen more days than you'd like. You risk your purse, your health, your sleep, because the alternative is standing in the woods, cold and alone, hoping that whatever's out there decides to pass you by tonight. The inn isn't safe. It's just safer. Now, jump back to the present. Think about the last time you checked into a hotel. You complained because the Wi-Fi was slow, the pillows were too soft, the air conditioner was too loud. You slid your keycard, heard the little click, stepped into a private room where every single thing belonged to you for the night. Your bed, your bathroom, your space. No strangers, no rats in the wall, no loose door latch inviting midnight visitors to weigh the risk of stealing your boots. In colonial America, normal was sharing a mattress with people you'd met less than an hour ago, falling asleep in sheets other bodies had just vacated the night before, knowing that someone might open your door in the dark and consider whether your things should become their things. And yet, for all the discomfort, those inns kept people moving. They kept commerce alive. They were newsrooms, gossip centers, unexpected networking events before anyone used that word. They were places where the rich and the poor, the lucky and the unlucky, the honest and the desperate, all lay down under the same roof and tried to get through the night together without too much being lost. Tonight, if you're listening to this while lying in your own bed, alone, with clean sheets and a door that locks, congratulations. You are living a version of comfort that most travelers in early America couldn't even imagine. And if you ever complain about the hotel breakfast not having enough options, just remember, there was a time, not that long ago, when the real horror of travel wasn't a bad Yelp review. It was the sound of bare feet in a dark hallway, and the feeling of someone you've never met breathing inches from your face as you try to sleep in a bed that was never really yours to begin with.